I need these photocopied and filed, Sarah. My brother James tossed a stack of papers onto my desk without even looking at me. And get me a coffee while you're at it. Black, 2 sugars. I glanced at the documents. Merger proposal drafts for Montgomery Industries, our family company. Well, their family company. I was just the secretary, who happened to share their last name. Anything else? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. Yes, actually, he smirked, finally deigning to look at me. The board meeting's at 2 p.m. Make sure the conference room is ready. You know, like a good little secretary should. If only he knew that the Real board meeting, the one that mattered, had happened at 7 a.m. this morning. In my other office, the one with CEO Frost Enterprises on the door. My phone buzzed discreetly. Merger documents received. Awaiting your final review. I'll take care of everything, I assured James, watching him strut away in his overpriced suit. For 5 years I'd played this role perfectly. Sarah Montgomery, the family disappointment who only managed to get a job as a secretary at Montgomery Industries. They never questioned why I wanted to work there, never wondered why I was content with such a lowly position. They also never bothered to check who had been quietly buying up shares in their biggest competitor, Frost Enterprises, or who had transformed it from a struggling company into an industry powerhouse. My assistant, my real assistant, messaged again, legal team standing by. Should we proceed with the counteroffer? I smiled, remembering yesterday's family dinner. At least get a real job, my father had said. Your brother's making million-dollar deals while you're making coffee. She's not ambitious enough, my mother added. No Montgomery drive in her. James had just laughed. She's right where she belongs. Someone has to do the filing. Another message flashed. Montgomery Industries stock price dropping. Perfect timing for acquisition. I gathered the merger documents James had carelessly tossed on my desk. He hadn't even noticed they were duplicates. The real ones were already in my executive office across town. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Montgomery, the board members are arriving early. Send them to the small conference room, I replied. And James. Yes. Make sure there's fresh coffee. Black, 2 sugars. The irony made me smile. At precisely 2 p.m. I sat in my secretary desk, watching the show unfold through the conference room's glass walls. James stood at the head of the table, confidence radiating from every pore. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, today we're discussing the merger with Frost Enterprises. Our offer is generous, considering their recent market position. My phone lit up, counteroffer sent. Arriving in 3, 2, 1. Right on cue, their phones buzzed simultaneously. I watched their faces as they read the message that would shatter their world. This must be a mistake, James stammered, his face growing pale. Frost Enterprises isn't making a counteroffer. They're attempting a hostile takeover. Not attempting, my father corrected, his voice shaking. According to this, they already own 51% of our shares. But how? When? I stood up, smoothing my carefully chosen Chanel suit. The one I'd been told was too expensive for a secretary. Over the past 5 years, I answered, walking into the conference room. While you were all busy telling me to know my place. The silence was absolute. Every head turned, every face showing a different shade of shock as understanding slowly dawned. Sarah, James whispered. What are you talking about? I took my time walking to the head of the table, enjoying the way he unconsciously stepped aside. Perhaps, I suggested, we should discuss this with Frost Enterprises CEO. I held up my company ID, my real one. Oh wait, that's me. The room erupted in chaos. Board members frantically checking their phones, my father gripping the table for support, my mother looking like she might faint. Impossible, James kept saying. You're just a secretary. No, I corrected him. I'm the CEO who's been watching you run this company into the ground while treating me like your personal coffee maker. And now, I smiled, sliding the real merger documents across the table, I own controlling interest in Montgomery Industries. The conference room had become a battlefield of spreadsheets and stock certificates, each document another nail in my family's coffin of arrogance. 5 years, my father muttered, flipping through the acquisition records. You've been planning this for 5 years? Actually, I pulled up the company financials on the screen. I've been executing this plan for 5 years. The planning started long before that. Around the time you told me I wasn't Montgomery material and gave control of the company to James. My brother had collapsed into a chair, his expensive suit wrinkled, his usual swagger replaced by stunned disbelief. But Frost Enterprises, it was failing when old man Frost died. Until his mysterious successor turned it around, I agreed. Did none of you ever wonder who bought the company? Who transformed it from a regional player into a global force? We tried to find out, one of the board members admitted. But everything was through shell companies and investment groups. I nodded. Winter Holdings, Arctic Ventures, North Star Capital. All subsidiaries of Frost Enterprises. All controlled by me. My phone buzzed with another message. Stock price falling. Montgomery Industries now vulnerable to complete takeover. While you were all busy telling me to just be a good secretary, I continued, I was building something bigger. Every coffee run was a chance to overhear your strategies. Every document I filed gave me insight into your weaknesses. Every meeting I scheduled showed me exactly how this company was being mismanaged. Mismanaged? James found his voice, anger replacing shock. We're one of the top firms in the industry. Are you? I pulled up more data. Your market share has dropped 15% in 3 years. Your innovation department hasn't produced a viable new product since 2021. Your best talent keeps leaving for more progressive companies. Like, oh, I don't know. Frost Enterprises. The board members shifted uncomfortably, probably remembering all the warnings they'd ignored from their outdated departments. Remember Anderson? Your best project manager? I asked. He works for me now. So does Dr. Chin from R&D. And Martinez from international sales. Turns out people prefer working for a company that values talent over tradition. You poached our employees? My father demanded. No, you drove them away. I just gave them somewhere better to go. I checked my watch, Cartier, not that they'd notice. Now, shall we discuss the terms of the merger? Or should I say acquisition? My mother finally spoke up. You can't do this to your own family. Family. I laughed. Like when you told the Hendersons I was just a secretary at their charity gala? Or when James here made me clean up coffee he deliberately spilled, just to remind me of my place? The room fell silent again. But here's the interesting part, I continued, pulling out more documents. Unlike you, I actually learned how to run a business. Not just play at being executives. The screen filled with comparative data. Frost Enterprises growth charts next to Montgomery Industries decline. Innovation metrics. Employee satisfaction scores. Market penetration rates. Your company is failing, I stated flatly. Without this merger, my merger, you'll be bankrupt within 18 months. That's impossible, James protested, but his voice lacked conviction. Is it? Check the pension fund you've been quietly draining. Or the R&D budget you've slashed to maintain your dividend payments. Or maybe the stack of resignation letters from your best employees. My phone buzzed again. Emergency board meeting at Frost Enterprises confirmed for 4 p.m. Transition team standing by. So here are your options. I laid out 2 folders. Option 1. Accept the merger under my terms. You keep your jobs, lower positions obviously, but the company survives. Option 2. Fight me, lose, and watch everything our grandfather built crumble while I buy the pieces at bankruptcy prices. You destroy your own family's legacy? My father asked. No, I corrected him. I'm saving it. From you. The next few weeks transformed Montgomery Industries in ways my family had never imagined possible. The old guard was replaced with competent professionals. Merit replaced nepotism and innovation replaced stagnation. James was relegated to assistant project manager. Under Anderson, the employee he'd once dismissed. My father took early retirement rather than work under his daughter. And my mother stopped appearing at society functions, unable to explain why her secretary daughter was now her boss. I sat in my new office. A merger of both worlds with views of both company buildings, reviewing the transition reports when my assistant announced an unexpected visitor. James is here to see you, Ms. Montgomery. He entered cautiously, looking different in business casual rather than his usual bespoke suits. A month of actual work had changed him. The Anderson project report, he placed a folder on my desk. He said it needed your signature. I glanced at the document. His work was surprisingly thorough. Actual analysis instead of the superficial overviews he'd previously called reports. Sit down, James. I gestured to a chair. Let's talk about your first month in the real business world. He sat stiffly, pride warring with newfound humility. It's been educational. Has it? Tell me what you've learned. That I knew nothing, he admitted quietly. About business, about management, about anything really. My phone buzzed. Frost Montgomery merger completing final phase. Stock prices up 30%. Anderson's a good teacher, I noted. When you actually listen to him. He is. James shifted uncomfortably. He told me about the time I rejected his innovation proposal. The one you later implemented at Frost, making millions. The same proposal you called too risky without even reading it? I smiled. Yes, that worked out quite well for us. How did you do it? He finally asked. Build all this while we thought you were just a secretary? I finished. You never wondered why someone with an MBA from Wharton would want to be a secretary. His head snapped up. You have an MBA from Wharton? Class of 2018. Top of my class. But you all were too busy planning James's executive future to notice my graduation. The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken regrets. Did you hate us? He asked finally. All those years? No, I replied truthfully. I pitied you. You thought being born first made you entitled to lead. I knew better. Leadership isn't inherited, it's earned. My phone lit up with another message. Forbes interview request. The secretary saw how Sarah Montgomery revolutionized 2 companies at once. The press is having a field day, I mentioned, showing him the message. The story of the overlooked daughter who outsmarted her entire family is apparently quite compelling. Dad's devastated, James said. Mom hasn't left the house in weeks. They'll adjust. Like you're adjusting. Speaking of which, I pulled up his performance review. Anderson says you're showing promise. When you actually do the work instead of delegating it. Really? A hint of his old eagerness crept into his voice. Really? Which is why I'm offering you a choice. What choice? Continue as you are, learning the business from the ground up, and in a few years, you might earn a real executive position. Or take the settlement package and leave. He considered it for a moment. What would you do? I did do it, I reminded him. I learned every aspect of this business while you were playing CEO. The difference is I did it by choice. You're doing it because you have no choice. My assistant interrupted. Ms. Montgomery, the Frost Montgomery integration team is ready for the final review. Thank you, I replied, then turned back to James. Well, he straightened in his chair. I want to stay. To learn. To really learn. Even though you'll be working under people you used to consider beneath you? Especially because of that, he admitted. They know things I don't. Things I should have learned years ago. I nodded, pleased despite myself. Then let's discuss your development plan. Starting with your new assignment in the innovation department. Under Dr. Chin? He asked, naming another employee he'd previously ignored. Yes. The same Dr. Chin whose research you dismissed as unnecessary expenses. I think you'll find her insights quite valuable now. As James left my office, looking